All right, get off on the international or closer to home international having to do with illegals in this country, and the local international is that it's a foreign country we're dealing with is Mexico. What would you do to stop the sanctuary city status of San Francisco and other cities, and as it relates to illegals?
You know, I'm not sure that as in a federal office, there's much you can, I don't know if that's a city.
Sanctuary cities is a
they're breaking the law.
Is a local.
Okay, yes.
It's a local law, and but there is a federal law that says they're illegal.
Correct.
Nobody enforces it.
Yeah, and to answer the question about what to do with the illegal alien situation, I have always said, why don't we just enforce the laws we have? I think it could, I mean, this is not a brain surgery. The other thing that San Francisco does, and again, I don't think I can lay this on Nancy, I think that's our local crazies, but literally, we have, the city of San Francisco issues an identification card to illegal aliens that allows them access to all city services. You gotta ask yourself, if you were living in Mexico and saw your opportunities there and heard what you could get here, I mean, we're sending very, very mixed messages. I don't think this is brain surgery. I don't think it's anywhere near as difficult as Congress makes it out to be. We enforce the laws we have now, and I think the problem, especially enforcing it against employers that employ them, and I do think and I think John agrees with me on this, I don't think we should keep offering all the free services we offer them because we're sending such a mixed message. And last but not least, I would say, I think it's an absolute slap in the face to all those people who come to our country legally, and it takes them lots of money, much time, a lot of work, and many, many years. The idea that we would give people who broke into our country and took advantage of the country, that we would streamline the process for them, I find to be morally reprehensible. I think we're a country of law. There's also, too, that idea that if somebody breaks in here and knows that they can break our laws and be rewarded for it, at what point do you say, well, gee, what laws can we break? I mean, we've reached a point, one of the points I wanted to make about the situation that's going on with our government today is it's very clear. We are rewarding bad behavior and punishing good behavior, and there is no way that a country can be run in that way and stay strong in any way.
How would you address that in terms of, we started with the question of the sanctuary cities, but then also the illegal problems?
Right, yeah, and I think there is very little disagreement on this issue. Again, we just need to enforce the law. But I think we do need to be a little bit more aggressive about what Dana mentioned there, which is the honey that attracts folks here in the first place, right? All of these services that people get free. We have government mandates that force states and local governments to pay for services. We've got to address that issue very directly and very quickly. It's bankrupting cities. There are border towns that used to have hospitals, that hospitals are going out of business because they can't keep up. I actually have a little solution to that problem, incidentally. By the way, one other thing too, no amnesty, ever. Never send amnesty. I do have a solution which hasn't been tried, but I'm happy to be the first to try it as the representative from the 8th Congressional District. And that is, right now I think it's been estimated, this idea was inspired by the article that I think most of us read, about how 72% of inmates in LA County jails are illegal immigrants. Hospital services, some inordinate percentage of hospital services go to illegal immigrants, and on and on and on. Well, what I got the idea of doing was this. Why don't we find out what the origin of the national origin is of all these folks, and figure out what it does, what it costs us to take care of them for various services, put a little premium on it, and send a bill to their country of origin. Okay, so now let's just say that, okay, well, it's just really a gesture, right? Because they're going to stiff us on the bill, right? Except we give them foreign aid. So when they don't pay us, send the bill to the State Department and have them deduct it from their foreign aid. I don't like this foreign aid business in the first place. Right. Let's keep the money at home. Let's not be sending it off to Mexico. We give about $600 million a year to Mexico. I say it's better off in LA County if we're paying for their folks.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you support the legal challenges that are being raised against the health care bill? And which specifically do you feel has the best chance of being successful? John?
Sure. Yes, I do. And I think that this is an area where we have to, again, look back to the Constitution. You know, someone once said, we're so naive, talk about naive and dangerous. We're so naive, we send elected representatives to Washington, D.C., many of them crooks, and we expect them to abide by some writing on a piece of paper. They've used every trick under the sun, the Commerce Clause, the General Welfare Clause, the Necessary and Proper Clause, all of which to tear down what is so crystal clear. Article 1, Section 8 lists the enumerated powers. The 10th Amendment says all of the rights are reserved to the states and the people. How much clearer do they want to make it? If it was a free-for-all, they should have just written down, it's a free-for-all. It's not a free-for-all. So the legal challenges. Well, you start with the constitutionality of it, but the problem with that is you have to, again, have an aggrieved party. Some specific person has to say that they are aggrieved. I think the best challenge is going to come from the states, and this is actually an opportune time. I've said for a long time in many of the 6, 7 dozen radio interviews that I've done, that we have a problem. We're supposed to have checks and balances within the federal government. Well, what happens if the federal government itself decides to move forward? What's the check and balance against it and its expansion? And of course, the answer should be the rights of the states. States have to step up now. This is their moment. This is where they're going to have to do their thing and fight this thing. It's really the last best hope that we have. My main concern, too, regarding the states' rights issue is that if we do not get our fiscal house in order, each of us is in debt in this country when you add up the unfunded liabilities on top of the debt, the backstops to the GSEs, on and on. Each of us is in debt to the tune of $300,000 per person. The per capita income in this country is $45,000. That doesn't include all the personal debt, the corporate debt, the state debt, the municipal debt. The country is bankrupt, and we've got to start liquidating some of these bad debts, or else we're going to have a collapse of the dollar. If the collapse of the dollar happens, you don't put that back together, and I think that's what puts the Republic in jeopardy. We've got to get serious in the states' rights. I think that may be the answer to finally put the federal government back in check, and this is going to be hopefully a battering ram by which we do that.
Thank you. Anna, do you support the legal challenges?
Can I answer that? Oh, don't we both answer the question?
I'm giving you the same question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you support the legal challenges that are being raised against the health care bill, and what specifically do you feel has been the best? Which specifically do you feel has the best chance of being successful? That's the question he just answered.
Yes, and I absolutely agree as well. It was interesting when the Nebraska, what do they call it, the Nebraska deal was made. Apparently there were 17 attorneys general that filed suits saying it was unconstitutional. And first of all, I'm thinking, where are the other states? And then I thought, why aren't they just questioning the constitutionality of all of it? I think we have a little inkling, though. I just read in the paper today that California is going to be one of the winners. And so, you know, again, the government creating the winners and losers is not, that is a losing proposition. But to answer the question, I agree that the states would be the place to stop this from going into effect. Also, I remember listening, and unfortunately I didn't hear the whole interview, with Mark Levin, and I don't know the name of his organization, but they are filing... Landmark Legal. They are filing a suit, and I have to admit I don't know the exact legal challenge they're making, but I would like to think that every group that defends the Constitution would come forward and really challenge this, and challenge it soon. So I think we agree on that.
Okay, thank you. Next question, and I'm putting a couple together here. What do you think of federal funding for abortions, and what is your position on female reproductive rights, which is really the right to abortion?